Now on to international affairs and their effects here on our domestic settings. Wishful thinking on China certainly won't go away, especially when it comes to Taiwan. That vibrant democracy, home to 23 million people, is increasingly under threat from Beijing, as we've seen recently. Remember, this is what China's ambassador to Australia had to say earlier this month.
We can never rule out our option to use other means. So when necessary, when compelled, we are ready to use all necessary means. As to what does it mean by all necessary means, you can use your imagination.
Yeah, use your imagination. How China, of course, won't be backing down anytime soon on its reunification project with Taiwan. But as tensions flare, some experts are calling for Australia to pull back in its support for Taiwan for the sake of our own security. Joining me now to discuss all this is Peter Jennings, who's started up Peter Jennings Strategy Consultants. So good to talk to you again, Peter. We've often heard from a sort of China lobby in this country who suggests that we ought to be moving away from the US alliance and to keeping an eye on China and our region more prominently in meshing ourselves in the region. This idea that if there was a war over the Taiwan Straits and Australia wouldn't support the US is effectively, as you've argued in The Australian, a way to cancel the US alliance. Our most important strategic and defence alliance would just be rendered useless, wouldn't it?
It would, absolutely, Chris. You know, this is our own region and we can't design an exit strategy from our own region. And if the Americans come asking us for support in the defence of Taiwan, if we say no, that would be the end of our alliance relationship. What I find really strange, Chris, among the people who argue this case is they seem to think that somehow it's okay to say the defence of the Taiwan, a lively democracy of 23 million people, that just doesn't matter. But they seem also to think that somehow the defence of Australia, a democracy of 25, 26 million people, that's more important. Of course, the United States should be interested in that. And my view is we don't get to pick and choose. The democracies need to hang together or we're all going to hang separately under coercion from the PRC and the pressure that they're placing on different countries in the region.
Now, what also troubles me about this sort of positioning from those people arguing this sort of argument in Australia, Bob Carr's one who springs to mind, Michael Keating was out there on it in the last couple of days as well. And it's this question, really. There are some people who talk tough about China and sort of thump-thumping about the threat of war in the US and how we'd need to defend Taiwan. And they're sort of portrayed as troublemakers threatening war. There are others saying that we need to say that we would never fight to defend Taiwan, and the others are dangerous. The point is that fracturing that support for Taiwan is the most dangerous option, isn't it? If China were to think that there would not be widespread support for the defence of Taiwan, then China's more likely to actually try and take it by force.
Yes, it will attack. I mean, what Beijing would like to do is to win over Taiwan without a shot being fired, and they're doing their best to intimidate the Taiwanese and every other country that might help them in the hope that they'll give up. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we need to actually now help Taiwan to get stronger so it's capable of looking after its own defence. And we need to have the self-confidence not just to wither because we get excoriating rhetoric from language coming from Beijing talking about, how much damage they can do to all of us. The United States, Japan, Australia, South Korea, as the most consequential democracies of the region, I think are every bit as strong as China and will look after our own defence interests. So it's very sad when Australians seem to want to talk that down, weaken our alliance relationship with the United States, which actually undermines our own defence, and imagine that somehow we can just pretend that Taiwan doesn't matter. I'm afraid it does, and as China gets more aggressive, as the Chinese Communist Party becomes more authoritarian, this is exactly the moment for us to be stronger in our defence and working with like-minded countries.
Yeah, spot on. You can't pretend this is a lot easier than it is. You've got to do the hard yards. Thanks for joining us, Peter. I appreciate it.